Hello, my little friends. I'm your host, Mr. Catchy Name. You can call me Catch. And welcome to Iron Man, issue number 237. Now, after the X-Men and Wolverine, Iron Man is probably my favorite superhero. I always like the science fiction theme to his stories. And this one is probably my favorite issue because this is very, very science fiction-y. Yes, he's up clearly based on the cover. He's going to be up against some sort of horrible monster. It's really a great cover. Very exciting. Really want you to pick up this issue, which you can see at the time cost 75 cents. I know, right? 75 cents. I hope comic books don't get, hope those prices don't get too much higher than that. And also, I have good news. If you look, you can see this was approved by the Comics Code Authority, which is a huge relief. I mean, how am I supposed to know which comic books are going to be good and worth reading without the Comics Code Authority? So anyway, let's go ahead and get into the issue. Like I said, this is probably one of my favorite issues of Iron Man. You open it up, right away Iron Man is in space surrounded by corpses, which is almost never good. Right? He's clearly in some trouble here. We've got Stan Lee presents Tony Stark, the Invincible Iron Man. Really? Just gonna put your secret identity right there on the front page? I don't know, Iron Man. If I were you, I'd be a little bit more careful about that. People might find out who you actually are. Okay, so as we get further into the comic book, we find out exactly why Tony is in space surrounded by corpses. Looks like he's still dealing with some issues from the fallout from the Armor Wars, which is a storyline I'll cover in a different episode. But he's in some trouble with some lawsuits. The government comes, some representatives from the government comes and are like, hey, we'll help you with the lawsuits if you just go to space and deal with, our super secret space station. We haven't heard from him in a few weeks, and we'd like you to check it out. If it'd been me, I'd have just stuck with the lawsuits. But Iron Man seems to think this is a good idea. He goes to the space station, finds out that the entire Star Wars initiative, the Strategic Defense Initiative, is actually just a front to create some horrible monster that will destroy satellites. And he ends up having to return to his own satellite, which he had to abandon because AIM filled the place with a dangerous virus or bacteria, and he had to evacuate everybody, which is important. That might actually be foreshadowing the comic book. Now, the first part of this, Iron Man is basically looking for the creature, and good news. Let's see. You can now take your favorite Nintendo titles with you anywhere. No way. Nintendo Game & Watch lets you play Donkey Kong or Super Mario Bros. In a car, a bus, or even a tree with your friends. Well, I'm glad this ad was in here. Next time my friends and I are going to be in a tree, I'm going to be like, hey, did you know we could take our favorite Nintendo titles with us? Pretty important message there. Anyway, Tony eventually does find the horrible creature, and we have this great layout here with the monster resting in the power core. Thank God it's sleeping. Uh-oh, looks like it's not sleeping. Watch out, Iron Man, you're in trouble. This thing is a great monster. This is a kind of a semi-horror story. I mean, it's laid out in like a horror story format, at least as much of a horror story as you're going to get from Iron Man. Because they're in space, there's no sound effects. There's no sock, pow, bam, there's anything of that. It's just basically words. I've used them before. Basically, Iron Man just fighting it out over, I'm going to say, bubble yum. Apparently they're fighting over bubble yum. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the ads and all of this stuff. Anyway, we've got a great scene with Iron Man. This particular armor, I always liked this armor. This armor was after the Armor Wars. He wore red and silver for a while, and this was his armor. And I like this suit. Eventually, of course, being Iron Man, they started to change the suit up on a pretty regular basis. And this issue just has a great battle with him. I mean, most of the issue revolves around him battling with this creature, and it's pretty good. It's exciting. It's a great read. Eventually, he figures out that since it is a living creature, if he restores the oxygen to the space station, the virus that AIM put there to ruin the place will eventually kill the creature. And it does. That's the one thing it can't adapt to. It can deal with all of his power and technology, but the virus kills it. Yes, totally original. The virus kills the alien-like thing. And looks like Inferno is coming up. Yes, that'll also be a storyline I'll be covering eventually. But anyway, the creature, it dies, but not before it dies. It does speak. Because in any good sci-fi horror monster story, you have to feel bad for the monster at the end. And of course you wonder who the real monsters are. Spoiler alert, the real monsters are always people. That's it. Whenever we create a monster to destroy things, you always feel bad for it, and the real monsters are people. So this is a great issue. I would recommend this. I wouldn't imagine this is too expensive. If you're a fan of Iron Man, you can probably find this on eBay or a used bookstore. And I hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you could leave a comment as to which particular, if you have an issue of a comic book that really stands out to you as your favorite, I'd appreciate if you leave a comment. I would like to know what issues are your favorite. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps out a lot. And I look forward to seeing you next time.